just to introduce myself, my name is Mr Bournat. I am the head of sixth form here at Newstead. I've taught many of you who are logged in, but obviously I'm going to be new to quite a lot of you as well. So I've worked here at Newstead in the sixth form for 5 years, and it's a real pleasure to have our first online induction day. It's quite a learning experience for all of us. So welcome to all of you. There's been quite a lot of questions that I've noted, and I'm going to sort of go through them systematically to try and answer everything that you've raised, and then towards the end I'll be getting more questions, I'm sure. I think I also have Tanya Singh, who's one of our current year 12s.
Yeah, hi Mr Bournat.
Now, Tanya's going to also be talking to you today, answering a couple of questions, but also being sort of a student point of reference for you. So with everyone now in the room, we're sort of over 80. I'll hand over to Tanya first. She's going to address a couple of questions that I thought were relevant for her to talk about, and then I'll come in with the other questions. So Tanya, over to you.
Great. Well, hi everybody. Welcome to Newstead. It's great to see so many of you here, albeit virtually. So as Mr Bournat said, my name is Tanya. I'm currently year 12, and I'm studying biology, chemistry, and maths. And I wish to study medicine at uni. So I thought that I would talk to you a little bit about why I chose Newstead as my sixth form, and why until now I absolutely have no regrets about this decision that I've made. So at the beginning of year 12, I was so unsure about sixth form that I wanted to go to, as I'm sure many of you are currently. I spent some time at a boarding school in Brighton, as well as another Orpington-based grammar school. And to be quite frank with you, I honestly miss the community that we have here at Newstead. You know, the hospitable environment, it's almost like a family here. And I was immediately drawn back to Newstead. And honestly, it's the best decision that I've made. And I think above all, the reasons that I've just mentioned, it was the fact that Newstead, it really focuses on the individuality of each student. You know, we've got such a diverse student population here, and no one tries to make you someone that you're not. There's no cookie cutter approach. No one's molding you to be a perfect Newstead student, because everyone here is so diverse. It's all about the subjectivity of each student. It's all about you. So if you're somebody who, like me, is a more independent learner, I think Newstead cases for you perfectly. It allows you to take responsibility in your own learning, allows for you know, a real holistic approach towards your education. But at the same time, if you're somebody who prefers that supported structure that Newstead has to offer, again, they will cater for you. You know, we've got support sessions at lunch, we've got mentoring sessions at free periods. So Newstead really do everything they can to adapt to you, which I think is so unique of the sixth form. And in addition to that, I think, as well as academically, Newstead really helps you to develop your skills and mould them into strengths on a supercurricular and extracurricular level. So just to give you an example, I was really into leadership at the beginning of year 12. So apart from taking on some of the already set out roles, such as house captain and biology subject leader, myself and Tanda, a member of the head student team, we decided to re-establish a pre-existing medical society here at Newstead Wood. And honestly, it's been so great. We've had 100 members all the way down from lower school. We organised debates, external speakers. So it's amazing, you know, what you can do here at Newstead. And I think, without being too philosophical about it, I think it really is this individuality which gets you through sixth form. You know, it's a time when you literally become adults. It's all about learning about yourself, growing up. And in addition to that, I think it's a time when university applications and obviously UCAS become so much more prominent and so much more real in our lives. And this is why universities truly want to see what you are like as a person. And Newstead really helps you to really hone down on those skills and those strengths. And that's the reason why I love Newstead. And I'm sure you'll find the same when you join. So thank you for listening. I've got a few questions here, Mr Bournat. Would you like me to address them now? Or...
Yeah, if you've got some questions, do go ahead with those, Tanya. Thank you.
Okay. Well, the first question was, should I read my GCSE notes ahead of A-level studies? I think there's definitely no obligation to do so, but then again, there's no reason not to. It will definitely give you a firm understanding of the curriculum to come, as well as establish a really good learning mindset. But at the same time, I think it's important to remember that for subjects that I do, such as biology and chemistry, and I think I can speak for quite a few subjects here, people are going to be coming from all walks of life. You know, you're going to have people who've done AQA, some OCR, others EdXL. So teachers really make sure that everybody is at the same level when they start. So it is all recapped. Maybe one thing to add to that would be, if you're taking maths or further maths, just make sure that you practice a little bit over the summer, not extensively, just a bit, because when you do come back, you can get a bit rusty in maths, especially when you haven't done so much work for a long time. Yes, that's what I have to say for that question. Another question about when can you contact teachers? Is it only during lesson time? No, I think teachers here at Newstead are really accessible. So lunchtimes, breaks, you can go up with the teachers, their departments, and clarify anything that needs to be clarified. And in addition to that, I think something really special here at Newstead is free periods. So these are select hours of the day where you are at the liberty to your own self to really do whatever you want, whether that's catch up with homework or read a book, go for a walk. And you can take this time again to go to teachers if they're free, provided that they're not teaching a lesson. So teachers are very accessible here at Newstead.
Okay, thanks very much, Tanya. And again, if anyone has any questions for Tanya that they'd like to hear her answer, you can put it into the chat and she can pick that up as we're going through. I'm going to now go through a series of questions that have been asked over the course of the day, either through the chat or been emailed to me. And again, if you have any particular questions, do write them into the chat on Teams. There was a question about leaving at break and lunch. Yes, you can leave at break and lunch. And Tanya just mentioned the the free periods just now. Normally, you would have a sort of a typical student would expect to have one free period every day. You might also expect to have one study period every day and 3 lessons every day. And what that means is you've got your 3 lessons, you have one study period where you'd be in the library or you'd be in the sixth form centre working, and then you also have one free period where you are free to leave the site. If it comes at the end of the day, it means you can go home early. At the moment, given the current situation, study periods are obviously sort of up in the air. How much do we want students on site? We've got to work some of these things out. We're putting plans together ahead of September. But that aside, typically what would happen in Newstead sixth form, you would have a study period every day where you have to be in school, but you also have an hour where you're free to go and do something, whatever you'd like to do. Some people have driving lessons in them. So yes, you're free to leave at break and lunch. Student leadership positions, they are for everyone. If you were in part of the quiz that we had a short while ago, both Darshini and Tando are externals, and they're both within the senior leadership team for the students. Clubs and societies, house captains, these are all run by internals and external students alike, so there's no discrimination there. There was a question about careers and work experience and getting this sort of exposure at Newstead. Yes, there are opportunities at school. So there are questions, can you be a librarian? Can you mentor younger students? Yes, you can do. And I know that it's quite common employment for people your age to go and do GCSE tutoring, and you can do that sort of thing in school as well. But we also, from September, have a new careers officer, Miss Brown, and she'll be able to arrange work placements for you, mock interviews. She'll be able to help you with your CVs and that sort of thing. And also in year 12, you can expect a work experience week in June. And we actually have one taking place for our current year 12s starting on Monday. It's a virtual work experience that they're doing, but I would say about 3/4 of the year are involved in some sort of virtual online placement, which is pretty good given the current conditions. There was a question about trips. Under normal conditions, there are many trips at Newstead. So geography go to Iceland, politics go to New York with economics, Russia is a history trip, biology go to Suffolk, computing go out to California, or have been out to California, and languages, Spain, France, Germany, these trips all take place. So we actually pride ourselves on quite a wide number of different trips at Newstead. At the moment, obviously, due to international travel restrictions, there are no currently planned trips, but that's the same in all schools. But we do try to promote trips as much as we can. There's also the opportunity as sixth formers to accompany trips with younger year groups. So whether that's going on a year 10 engineering trip to BAE Systems, you're maybe expected to look after a small group of year 10s, but you get to go have a look around in Gillingham, and that's if you're interested in engineering. It's a big engineering company. So you can go on trips like that. There's also a year 7 trip to across the at the end of the summer, which typically goes to a number of different theme parks, and it's very much about bringing year 7s together, and all the sixth form year 7 form captains will go with them to help look after them, help the staff, and again that's quite a fun trip to do. Okay, moving down through the list, do we have to do Moocs? You don't have to do Moocs. These are mass online open courses. These are free to do. They're provided by universities. They're intended to extend education to everyone, to make university level education more accessible to everyone. They're often short courses. They can last about 6 weeks. And ultimately, you have to produce a piece of work, often an essay, which is marked by a university lecturer. And it's simply a pass or fail. But what it is a way of doing, in a short space of time, it's a way of doing a qualification which might help you with your university or career destination. So if you, for example, are interested in law or engineering, neither of which A-levels we offer, you might want to do a MOOC in one of these topics in order just to show a passion and an interest for your university application. Some people do a MOOC over an EPQ because of the short period of time. An EPQ takes a year, and that runs from January to December. That would start in the January of your year 12 in EPQ. So some people might do a year-long piece of research with a 5,000 word essay, but a MOOC is a much shorter course. And these are just optional things really to help you sort of be that. And someone asked, how can we make ourselves stand out? A MOOC or an EPQ is a good way to make yourself stand out. Few questions coming on a little bit. Some of these questions are a bit precocious, a bit early. So people are asking about personal statements. We had our year 12 webinar with the University of Leicester about 2 weeks ago, and that was on personal statement writing. And year 12s are busy writing their personal statements over the summer. There's no real point in starting writing your personal statement until you have something effective to say. So until you've done that work experience, that volunteering, until you have studied certain topics and read certain books, there's no real point in writing your personal statement. So I would suggest that you are best doing this when you are in year 12 in the summer, and the school helps you with that. So please don't worry, be concerned. There are a few questions about medicine, dentistry, and veterinary. So I'll quickly run through those. And these are to do with Bmat and Ucat. I'm sure Mr Blount is a better source of information, but I'll just quickly say Bmat is typically for people who are interested to apply for the top tier medical schools, so Oxford, Cambridge, UCL and Imperial. There are other smaller medical schools which also use the Bmat, because obviously if people are unsuccessful with Oxford, some smaller medical schools want access to those students that are not quite Oxford but still very good. So you've got places like Sussex, Kiel, Brighton and Leeds. So what you don't need to do, you don't need to do a Bmat and a Ucat. You can do a Bmat and apply to a range of medical schools. If you take the Ucat, what you're taking is the entry exam for most medical schools. And we're talking about Russell Group universities like Manchester and like Bristol. So you have plenty of time to do these. What you will find is they have dates throughout the year for you to take a Bmat or a Ucat. We wouldn't encourage a year 11 to be taking a Bmat or a Ucat. You normally take it over the summer and into the beginning, over the summer in year 12. So current year 12 students are looking at taking the June, August or September dates for those exams. And again, it's something you want to do once you've actually studied some A-level biology, chemistry, physics and maths. And if you don't want to do that really when you've only got GCSEs under your belt. So a little bit early with those, but do start having a look at questions. They're quite fun to do if you're interested in that. A question about further reading, which I think is something everyone should be interested in doing. And really what you're better off doing is asking the head of department, what should I be reading ahead of my A-level? And we also have some really proactive librarians here at Newstead who have undergraduate reading lists for most courses at university level. So if you want to see what you should be reading ahead of university, then you'll be able to get in contact with the librarians as well. Any requests for those, if you don't know the email addresses, just send your query to Miss Roberts and she will forward it on and put you in touch with the right people. Another MDV question, are there alternative entries into medicine? Yes, there are. There are many ways of getting into medicine. You don't have to go into undergraduate medicine. You could look at going through a science postgraduate route. So what you would do is, rather than a 6-year medical degree, you would do a 3-year science degree and then do a 4-year fast-track medical postgraduate route. It's actually becoming a preferred method of entry. These days, you won't be a consultant unless you have, well, probably a PhD, but certainly having something like an MSc or a BSc is going to be helpful. So having done that earlier in your career, you'll be at an advantage. So in the long run, it will not impact your career either way. Obviously, many people want to go straight into medicine, and that's I can appreciate why they do that, but it's just as common these days, especially if you're looking at dentistry. A lot of people go and do a medical degree initially and then go into maxillofacial specialism afterwards, so you don't have to go straight into dentistry either. A question about the EPQ, should you do one related to your degree choice? Yes, you should, and that's why we ask you to do it in the January of year 12, once you're a bit clearer about what you want to do come university. We don't make you start it straight away in year 12 when you haven't quite decided. It's a chance to show a specialism outside of your A-levels. So again, it could be if you're doing English, history and politics and you're interested in law, you would do an EPQ in a law-related topic. But likewise, if you wanted to do engineering and you're not doing that as an A-level, you would be able to show that specialism. So even within, say, specific area of biology, if you're studying the sciences, if you really wanted to focus on something to do with fungus, you could go away and do that in your EPQ. Are there advantages of 3 sciences over 2? It depends. I think the advantage that you were just pointing at is for university or for a chosen career. And I think it's dependent on the career or the university or course you're thinking of. I think you have to treat maths as a science when it comes to career and university. So where a course is looking for three courses, so where a university course is looking for 3 A-levels and they're talking about sciences, they are talking about maths as well. So whether you do biology, chemistry and physics, or biology, chemistry and maths, or chemistry, physics and maths, it ultimately makes no particular difference. All of them are excellent A-levels to do, highly desired by universities and by industry. I think you need to do your research to find out what you would like to do going forward. For the person who asked this, if you're agonizing over whether to do the 3 sciences or whether to do 2 sciences and another subject, my advice would be start Newstead with 4. So the 3 sciences plus the other one you're considering. And then by October half term, you should be in a position to drop the one that you're less sure of. So we're quite flexible over that sort of aspect. You don't have to start with 3 or 4. Some people start with 5. People do drop, and that's absolutely fine. We have those conversations with you before Christmas, preferably by October half term, so you're focused and your teachers are focused. But don't, if you are worried and not quite sure about which A-levels you want to do, just get in touch with Miss Roberts. We'll put you in touch with the right people. Get in touch with me. And we can help you. We're here to support you, not force you into doing A-levels that you ultimately decide against. Moocs are useful. There's a question, are they useful? Yes, they are, but it's like an EPQ. They're useful if it inspires you, if it gives you passion, if it makes you go away and read something, or inspires you to do something. If you just have 10 Moocs to your name, but you're no further interested in the subject, then I would suggest you need to do something else. So they are as useful as you make them. Someone asked a question about American universities. With American universities, you have individual applications. You can apply to as many universities as you like, but each one costs about £50. In the UK system, you make one application through Gcse and it costs £18, 1/8. So it's a very different system if you're applying in America, and you want to think carefully about where you're applying, given the amount of money involved. The SATs or the ACT, these tests that you have to sit for American universities, they take place in central London at various points throughout the year. They're slightly different. The SATs are based on your maths and English skills. But if you're more interested in science, you'd probably take an ACT. So anyone interested in engineering or medicine would look at the ACT rather than SATs. Yes, we do help, but given the individual application process, there's not that much more I can say. We help you research what you need to do for each university, and we kind of walk you through the process. There are not that many people that do apply to American universities. Typically what happens is a student will come to me and they'll say, I'm applying to this university. I will sit with them, work out what they need to do and check they've got everything they need, and help them with anything that they do need. They will need a reference from me. You have to produce additional written work as well, and I can help you choose and select the correct material that's appropriate. So yes, we do help with American university applications. Okay, changing courses. Yes, you can change your A-levels, but we'd prefer you start with the right ones. I'd rather you started with 5 and whittled down to 3, rather than starting with 3 and then changing as you go along through year 12. And that's because you have access to those lessons from the get-go in September. You don't miss any work. So if you are sort of undecided and you need flexibility, that is what we pride ourselves on here at Newstead, so please do that. Yes, you can start with more than 4 A-levels. Start with 4, we can timetable up to 5. EPQs are January start. A couple of questions about enrolment day. It's on the 20th of August you get your results. In the morning we typically process internal Newstead students, and in the afternoon we process external non-Newstead students into Newstead Sixth Form. We don't know whether you're going to be asked to ring in, to attend an online event like this, or to come in person. Ultimately, the one thing we need off you is your documentation to show you've met the entry criteria. You can scan documents, so that might save us a problem. More information will come out for this as and when restrictions are, I sound like Matt Hancock now, as and when restrictions are reduced. So do just keep an eye on your emails. We will be in contact. It's high on our agenda in terms of ensuring that you can enrol successfully in our sixth form. And questions are similar about September. There are lots of factors to consider. Restrictions, whilst they're easing, they're still quite strict, and we just don't know what September will look like. Lots of planning's going on. Miss Sword, Mr Blount are very busy. They will be in contact with you and with your parents. Some questions about when will I be doing certain things as a sixth form. You'll be enrolling in your enrichment, so whether that's Oxbridge preparation, EPQ, there is Japanology, there is Model United Nations, but you would be enrolling in that after enrolment day, so after August the 20th and before your first day here in September. So you'll fill out a questionnaire. We will timetable it all for you so it's ready for you in September, but we won't be asking anyone to do it until they've guaranteed and arranged to come here in September. So that's not happening just yet. And similarly, on enrolment day on the August the 20th, you will find out form tutors, you'll find out your house. So that's all coming. Timetables will be ready for you in September on your first day. Last 2 questions. Bridging units, you should have them. You should be completing them over the summer. Maths, there has been some issue with an update to the maths bridging unit, and that will be with you shortly. So if you haven't received your maths or further maths bridging units, please don't be concerned. There's plenty of time before September for you to have a look at it. And lastly, probably a good one to end on, if it all goes wrong, if you do not achieve the entry criteria for Newstead, what I want you to be aware of is that the people here are from the group of 300 or so students out of the total 600 applicants who were able to verify their GCSE predicted grades. So if you're attending today, you're in our top 50% of people that we hope come to Newstead. If you are unable, or if you do not reach the entry criteria, please don't hesitate to get in touch. It might be that we can help. It might be that you have to select new subjects. But there is still a conversation to be had, I suppose, is the final thing. Obviously, if you're walking away with 1s in your GCSEs, we can't help you. But if you're close, if you're willing to be flexible, do get in touch. You're obviously here because you're a quality student, quality candidate. So I'm sure we will do everything we can to help you on the day. So please don't feel like it's an automatic no if you're struggling to meet the entry criteria. So it's going to be a challenging year for all of us with what's going on with the pandemic and with centre assessed grades. I'm sure that's a source of great anxiety for an awful lot of you. I just want you to know we do want to help you. We do know it's tough, and we will be here for you. And even if you don't meet our entry criteria and there's nothing we can do to help you, that doesn't mean we can't point you in the right direction, talk about your options and give you guidance. So do get in touch with us, whatever the case is. Okay, I'm just going to do a check now of any questions that have come through. If anyone has any questions, or if it has anything to say, please do so right now. Okay, if you're planning on resitting, I can see there's a question. If you're planning on resitting, can we still take it as an A-level option? We have managed to do this before. Unfortunately, we've always been successful. We make you take more options. If you were choosing 3, we'd make you take 4, because we'd make you take 3 that you meet the entrance criteria for, and we would allow you to take the one that you don't meet the entrance criteria for, so that you don't meet you don't miss lessons, but it would be conditional on you taking the resit and achieving the entrance criteria. If you weren't able to do that, we would make you drop that one and carry on with the 3 that you've met the entrance criteria for. So we do try to be flexible. Ultimately, it's a decision that the head of department makes. We've always found it's not been an issue. If people have slightly underperformed, they're able to retake and do well in September. So I think it was Ravula who asked this, and yes, you can still take it, but we would sort of have to do something additional to help you. Miss Audie's right. Depends on the subject and how close you are. Again, Miss Audie's answered a question about the dress code, and this is found on our website. It's also in the enrolment pack. A lot of you are going to be, if questions do come to you after this, and you go, I wish I'd asked that question in the Q&A. There's a lot of material on the Newstead website, so do have a look through that over the summer. But likewise, get in touch with Miss Roberts or with me. I really don't mind answering a general query. It's fine. What have we also got? Something about American applicants, timetables. If we're choosing 4 and drop 1, do we still buy all the textbooks? That will be up to you to decide whether you buy the textbooks straight away. What I would suggest to you is that you want to get onto eBay and buy up the second-hand textbooks that are going to be available. All of the curriculums, all the A-level curriculums have changed recently. They're all done. There's nothing new. So there are students ahead of you in every single subject who have used textbooks who no longer have a use for them. So get onto eBay and to Amazon. Get onto your WhatsApp groups within your own school and approach students in year 12, in year 13 who are leaving, and ask them for their AS and A-level textbooks. That's probably the best way to obtain cheap copies. The school does have spares, not loads. It's not an unlimited resource. But if you're undecided and you can't afford the textbook, or you don't want to buy a textbook just yet, you can ask your teacher in September. They can lend you one for the interim until you decide that you want to get your own. So in terms of textbooks, I would say that's a personal decision. We do have them for students, but think about buying a second-hand one. What else have we got? American universities, dress code. Do we think it's likely you'll be able to go to school in September? Lottie, students are already in. Miss Sword, do you want to say anything?
I'll just come and join you, Mr Bournat, to put my yeah, so we've got year 10 and year 12 are in school at the moment as normal as we can within the government guidelines. we have got plans in place for you to join us in September. As soon as we get the all clear for that, we'll definitely look forward to seeing you in September. Go ahead.
Sorry, Miss Lord.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think looking at secondary schools, there's prioritising of exam groups, and they've obviously got the 12s and the 10s in prior at the moment. And I think come to September, the next priority group to get in is going to be the current year 11s going into year 12. Yeah,
very much so. Question on group size, that very much depends subject to subject. There are some obviously small groups and then larger groups in subjects like maths or economics. An average group size, Mr Bournat, would you say is about 12 to 15?
That's right. So in the humanities, you're looking at something like 10, 15, maximum 20. And then in the sciences and STEM subjects, you'd be looking at 15, 20, and not much bigger than that. So the STEM subjects will be slightly bigger. So there's a question about how many people will be in our year. We're hoping our target for this year is 200. So we're looking to have 200 in the year. We are growing as a sixth form from a sort of an all-time low of 130. We're up near 160, and we're looking to we've got space and capacity. So we're looking at 200. The ratio of externals to internals, where it's highly dependent on each year group. Typically, if we were to go back through the last sort of 5 years, the ratio is sort of 2 to 1. Two internal students, 1 external student.
And we'll balance that. That will be balanced in the forms as well.
Yeah. Enrolment packs will be given to you at enrolment on August the 20th. And if it doesn't take place person to person, these will be sent to you electronically. But we're hoping to do it face to face, so hopefully it will be in person, so you should get a hard copy.
Lottie's right, you have an average sort of 3 lessons a day, and you have a study period and then you have a free period. In terms of is PE not compulsory anymore, you have many enrichment opportunities. I don't know, Mr Bournat, whether you've talked about some of the extra stuff we do in terms of enrichment in the sixth form.
Okay, Tanya Singh did speak about this, but no, I haven't. So we have a PE teacher who's joining this year from, I think he's a former player of Paris Saint-Germain, so I'm quite looking forward to meeting him. He's going to be a year 12 tutor, I believe, and he is going to be, he's going to be sort of tasked really with helping us deliver a lot of the PE or the sport for sixth form. What will happen every week is you have Wednesday period 5 enrichment, and some poor souls decide to do an EPQ or further study on that Wednesday period 5. Many people, in the vast majority, I would say 3/4 of the year, choose to do sport on that Wednesday period 5. And so there's football, there's netball, there's also other activities as well, there's gym, and we're hoping that can be used. But there is sport on a Wednesday period 5. So it's not compulsory. Some people like to do things that are more cultural and do Japanology, or they're interested in debate and they do Model United Nations and that sort of thing. So it's a chance to do all the extracurricular stuff Wednesday period 5.
Anna, it depends what option you choose as to whether you bring in your PE kit. There's London Youth Rowing, as Mr Bournat said, there'll be football, there'll be a range of options, and you'll bring in whatever's appropriate for that option.
Yeah, and we also have students who choose to use their free periods, which is normally once a day, and they choose to use the gym or to do exercise. You're free to go home, you're free to go and do that. You might have gym membership, and it's absolutely fine. It's your free period. You sign out and you can go and do what you need to do. So there's plenty of sporting opportunity. What we have been pleased about is that the sixth form football team was actually part of a league playing local schools last year. So as we continue to grow, we continue to attract more and more male students, and we've got to kind of account for them as well. So whilst we have female sports teams, we've also now got male sports teams, which is brilliant, and male changing rooms and that sort of thing. So sport is very much a part of your sixth form daily, weekly experience. You'd also, if you're in
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say you can do as much or as little as you want.
Exactly, and in a student leadership role, you'll often be tasked with organising sporting tournaments, house tournaments, and that sort of thing for the lower year groups as well. So it might not be that you want to play, but you still enjoy the sport and refereeing or just organising tournaments that are for charity or something like this. And there's plenty of time for that as well in student leadership roles.
Eden, I was going to answer your question. If we have 200 students in year 12, yes, we'll have more forms. The forms won't be bigger, and we'll have more forms than there currently were in year 11. Every lesson is an hour. That includes study periods and free periods.
In terms of free study periods per week, I mean, it depends obviously person to person, the subjects you choose, but it is typical that we have a five lesson day. And it's typical that you would have 3 lessons, 1 study, and 1 free. We do, if you're academically, if you're not hitting your targets in your assessments, then we do take away free periods and give you additional study. That's designed to be supportive. It's not designed to be punitive. It's not like we give you detention after school or we take away your lunch times. We purely use this additional. It's a privilege to have a free, especially if you're on top of your subjects. If you're not performing, you need the support. That's the time we can arrange for a year 13 to mentor you, or one of your subject teachers to sort of set you some additional work. Or it's also maybe a time for you to have additional support. So it's not supposed to be punitive. And what we don't do, if you're struggling academically, we don't take away your opportunity to leave the school at break or lunchtime. We would only ever do that if you were late to lessons after break and lunch, or if you were if it was a behavioural issue that we needed to punish you for. So very rare that we take away your break and lunch. That's always sort of kept as a safeguarded as a privilege for sixth form.
And to answer your question, Millie, yes, we definitely encourage you to get outside of lessons, and sport leaders is definitely something that we offer.
Do you have any input? Do you have any input in form groups? Okay, this is actually a really good question. If there are any external students who have friends already at Newstead, obviously I can't guarantee that I can get you into their form, but I would like to know. So if you're coming in and you're thinking there's a particular person who I'd really like to be in their form, because you do spend 20 minutes together at the beginning of the day, and you spend afternoon registration is 25 minutes as well. So you do spend form time together. And also, given the way the house system works, you would also be in their house. So you'll be them for any house events as well. If there are any external students who would like to be with a particular current Newstead student who they know is staying, please do just get in touch with Miss Roberts, and we will try our best. Obviously, I can't guarantee anything, but it would be nice to know, because then we can try and help you out there.
So there are practice rooms in the music block, to answer that question. I did send out a form to the current Newstead Year 11 students asking you whether you wanted to stay in your current form or whether you wanted to move, and asking you how many 3 friends that you wanted to stay with. So hopefully, if you haven't had that, drop me an email and I'll resend that to you.
Ms. Sword, did you address the question about other qualifications? I thought, did you?
Yes, Millie's. Yes, definitely we do sports leaders, definitely other qualifications. We encourage things like music. We've got a whole load of clubs and societies. I'm sure Tanya and Mr Bournat's already talked to you about that.
Yep. I can see Eden's question about more forms or just more students per form. The number of forms is dependent on the number of students. You've dealt with that one, lovely. Okay. There's a question about whether you stay in our current houses and forms, and you've addressed that one, Ms. Sword, haven't you? That they can get in contact if they wish to move. Is it necessary to do an EPQ? Could we practice robotics in school? It's not necessary to do an EPQ. If you're interested in robotics, you should be looking at the EES. It's an engineering scheme, It's accredited by sort of universities and by industry as well. Currently in the EES, we work with BAE Systems. They've been doing a lot of robotics recently. So that, and that's a sort of a weekly lunchtime event that takes place. So you can access the DT lab and work on robotics as well.
We've got a student in our current year 13 who's very interested in robotics, and his has been taken up by the Ministry of Defence. Is that right, Mr Bournat?
Yeah, that's right. So he's had to present to the Ministry of Defence. They were interested in something specific about it. It's a picker. It picks things up, but it's all, I think, Ministry of Defence and their sort of bomb squad. Suddenly he got a call and he had to go and present on something. They didn't quite use it, but he actually led to a change in something that they do. So quite he's a very interesting character, that year 13. Big career ahead of him in engineering. So what I would say is it's a really real way, the EES scheme, it's a way to really show your interest in engineering. It starts in September, and you have to be quick off the mark because it's selective. The company BAE Systems come in and interview and ahead of a panel, and they choose a small group of students. So you want to be sort of from the get-go getting involved in that. The other thing to bear in mind that starts in September is Young Enterprise, and if you're interested in economics and business, then you should look at that. That kind of comes out in September as well.
I think that's all the questions, Mr Bournat.
There was a question about lectures on a Friday period 2. There's an enrichment lecture which is designed to help you plan for the future. Can you choose which ones you would like to listen to? Well, no, not really, because these are designed to enrich you and broaden your horizons. And often the people who need to find out about a gap year are precisely those people who don't think they want to take a gap year, for example. Some of them are specific. So if we had a medical speaker coming in, we wouldn't expect someone taking humanities to attend that lecture. So where we think it's appropriate, we let you know if you don't have to attend the lecture. But otherwise stated, you should attend the Friday 2 lecture. It's just to keep you informed about everything to do with your future, because you never know when you're going to change your mind. The number of students this year who suddenly, I'm glad I went to the gap year talk, I'm taking a gap year now. So yeah, I would. You will be attending lectures unless otherwise told.
I was just going to address the question from the maths department. Member of the department about Olympiad. Yes, there's mention for the Maths Olympiad. There's also step lessons if you're intending to do maths at Oxford, Cambridge, Durham, Warwick. There's a huge amount. Everybody does the Maths Olympiad all the way up to the school, so there's a lot of support for that.
Thank you to Danny for answering Amelia's question about the start and end of the school day. So that's correct, yes. We have a repeating question. Is it possible that if we miss a grade but provide you with evidence of a grade, do you think we could still get into the sixth form? It really is just dependent on the specific circumstance. And my recommendation would be that you get in touch. I want you to be optimistic. We've invited you today because we want you to come to our sixth form. We'll do everything we can to help, but we are bound by guidelines from our governors. So where we can help, we will. We want to support you and help you. I don't want you, I want today to be positive, thinking about you at Newstead. I don't want people to be sitting here thinking about what if they fail. Be positive. Rest assured that, all of you are getting centre assessed grades, and all of the centres that you're at, be that Newstead or another school, wants the best for you. So feel positive about the summer and your GCSEs. If it's a question of needing to help you and thinking about your options on enrolment date, we will. But that's a bridge we need to cross when we come to it.
Devangi, I don't know as much about the Science Olympiad as I do about maths, but we definitely do the Science Olympiads, and I'm sure you could do them in year 12.
They did take place this year, yes. Yeah. Do you have allocated session for EPQ? If and when you choose to start the EPQ in January, you can allocate your Wednesday period 5 session to that EPQ if you wish to. It does mean that you'd be giving up on sport, and I'd rather you didn't do it, but if it helps you kind of manage your workload, then I'm more than happy for you to do it. But it isn't. The whole purpose of an EPQ is for it to be independent learning, and that it's done in sort of in your own time, and it's a process of you doing your own research, writing your own in-depth essay, and it isn't designed to be led by teachers or sort of provided for in the school in that way. But obviously there are, we're happy to help, and if you need to have an allocated session Wednesday period 5, you can. But remember, you have all those frees that you have during the week, those 5 frees. And personally, I would, if I was a student, I would use my frees to work on my EPQ, and I'd use Wednesday 5 to go and do some sport with my friends or debating with my friends. So there's no lesson on your timetable for EPQ. Is everyone in the same form in the same house too? Because what if people from different houses also want to be in the same form? Miss Saw.
So, Lottie, I'm working on that as we speak. That will be all ready for you for September.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis, for answering the ratio question. Thank you, Tanya, for talking about this jump from GCSE to A-level. You've been through a jump before. You were in Key Stage 3 and you moved to Key Stage 4. And at the beginning of Year 10, you probably found it a little bit hard. You had to think in a new way, learn new exam techniques, learn new content. I wouldn't say it's anything to be worried about. It's something to enjoy, and it is something to look forward to. It is a challenge. We've all been there. All the teachers have been through it as well. It can be a bit of a stressful time, and if that's the case, then you just seek support, whether that's from peers and getting some mentoring from a subject leader in Year 13, or whether it's talking to your teachers. But it's not something to be overly worried about. You're all highly capable students. You can all manage this.
And to be honest, that's why we do the bridging units. All the stuff that you've been sent will give you a real advantage and a head start with that. Go ahead, Mr. Bournat.
Question about parking. So once you have used all your free periods to have your driving lessons from school, and you've had your test and you're able to park, you need to see Miss Roberts to get a permit, first of all. And then second of all, you do park in the tennis centre, yes. Students do choose sometimes to park in the roads around Newstead, and obviously that's legal and perfectly fine. But I would ask you not to park outside the school. We have a very sensitive relationship with our immediate neighbours, especially because of drop-off and pick-up every day. And we really would rather you don't block the drives of the local residents. So think carefully about where you park if you're going to park outside school. But I'd recommend you, tennis centre is probably the best place, largely because it's so well used and your car is safer in a lit environment and in a busy environment. How many folders and books should you bring per subject? Well, I'd recommend just buy one folder for your subjects, and as you need more, buy more. I think they're on a 3 for 2 offer. I buy 3, 1 for each subject, and see how you get on, and then you'll end up buying more and more folders, I'm sure. But normally what you would do at A-level is have 2 teachers. So in politics, it's 2 teachers, RPE is 2 teachers. And what many students do is have a folder for Miss Harvey and a folder for Mr Bournat, a folder for Miss Young, a folder for Mr Bournat. So I would normally 2 for each subject, and you should be fine, at least to begin with.
Laptops, yes, laptops are allowed for work. Yes, many students bring them into lessons and find them helpful.
Question about maths there, Miss Saunders.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yes, the maths department still use exercise books at A-level. I personally find students find them much better. If you prefer to use A4 line paper, that's absolutely fine. But the maths department do provide exercise books. We're old-fashioned like that. Textbooks for maths, so we use a lot of stuff online, Lottie. We do a lot of stuff with Integral. There's a lot of websites that we use. There are textbooks we can recommend. There's stuff on the website, yeah, and there'll be stuff that goes out in your enrolment pack. And there's also a recommendation for a graphical calculator, which we use a lot at A-level. It's a lot of fun.
Lucky you, Devangi.
I think the answer to that is yes, Devangi. You can now enter labs without a teacher in the sixth form. Hopefully you'll be running science club or something like that. I'm sure Tanya will be able to speak to you more about that.
I think if you have any, sorry, Tanya, was that you? Please do speak.
Yeah, no, I was just going to mention, yeah, we've set up several science clubs. So myself and a friend have set up a biology dissection club, and that's going great. So yeah.
Tanya, where do you buy the lab coat?
Personally, I haven't bought myself one. That's only because the school has got supplies of lab coats. But if you do want to, I can forward you some links. Yeah, I've got some. Yeah.
If you've got them, could you put them onto Teams so that
Sure.
science students can have a look at them?
Sure, that's great.
Thank you, Tanya. Are there
questions, Mr Bournat?
Yeah, people are running out of questions. I'll do a little bit of a spiel just while people have a final thought. What I would say to you is there's lots of good questions, brilliant questions coming up. And I think they're going to continue to come to you over the summer. And as and when they come to you, contact Miss Roberts. She's your first point of contact. She's our sixth form administrator, but essentially she sort of looks after the sixth form team, Miss Harvey and me. And she also looks after sixth form students. She's there for all of us as a kind of point of contact to organise us and to help administrate. So email her your request. She'll forward it to the relevant person and make sure your question, however simple, is answered. And again, over the summer holidays, you might find that you're not getting an immediate response because Miss Roberts is on holiday. So the website is a really good point of contact for readily available information about starting in September. So there are also departmental pages, and you should also find the school will be in contact with you after this in the next couple of weeks, but also over August. We will be in touch with extra information. So if you still haven't heard about enrolment day or this sort of thing, it will be coming. We will be in touch as soon as we know and have information to share. We'll share it with you. Okay, there's a few questions. Miss Sword or Tanya, do you want to jump in at all?
Okay, that's fine. Did you want to answer the medicine question, Mr Bournat? Do you need maths to do medicine?
Right, you need it for the vast majority of medical schools. You don't need it for every single one. The one subject you absolutely 100% need is chemistry. Besides chemistry, you need either biology or maths.
Yeah.
So we have students applying for medicine who've done biology, chemistry and a humanities, or maths, chemistry and a humanities. You'll be able to access medical schools. They will be UCAT medical schools, and they will be lower tier UCAT medical schools. But the thing to remember is that person who qualifies last from in medicine from the lowest placed medical school still gets called doctor. So you must achieve at least 3 A's. So if you are better off doing biology, chemistry and a humanities in order to get to medicine, do that rather than choosing biology, chemistry, maths and then flunking maths. If you're going to get the A in history rather than maths, choose history and then choose the relevant medical school that you can apply to. So it's a difficult process without maths, but it can be done. We have had successes.
I'm going to answer the easy questions, Mr Bournat. Devangi, can you get a taxi if it's raining? Yes, you can. If you've organised that, that's absolutely fine. Do you have a chance to change your subjects after September? Yes, you do. We do have students change subjects. Obviously, the sooner that you do that, the better, the less work you have to catch up on. But we are pretty flexible. I'm sure you've been told already, we structure our timetable around you, around the choices you make. So yes, you will be able to.
One point on taxis, please ask the taxi driver to drop you off outside school. We don't want taxis coming into the school car park. It's to do with our school insurance and students being run over, etc. So no taxis on the school site. Just ask them to drop you up near the school, and that's fine. Question, how do you get here from Orpington Station? It's a 10-minute walk along Newstead Avenue, 15-minute walk, so it's not very far.
There's a lot, I think that's been answered already, I think.
Oh, okay.
And I think the key thing that Mr Bournat really is saying with regard to results is come and talk to us, have a conversation, whether it's changing subjects or whether it's not quite getting the right grades, come and talk to us.
On changing subjects, we typically try to do it before October half term. That's a kind of, because that first half term is all about settling into school. You actually, it's a very slow integration into sixth form and A-level life. You won't have missed too much. So October half term, you know, in your mind is a kind of good deadline. But we have people changing right up until Christmas. The latest we've had someone do it successfully and get an A star is February half term. So it is possible to change quite late, but what I wouldn't recommend it. You want to try and do it as soon as possible, and that's why you're better off starting with 4 and dropping to 3 rather than starting with 3 and then chopping that into something else.
I think I would point out the February half term was exceptional. So
yes, involved parents and the head teacher and a lot of outside work. So please, yeah, October half term is the deadline normally.
I'm not sure what the question means. Does school also choose students?
We have an entry criteria, and if you meet it, you are allowed to come to our sixth form. We have no catchment area. So do we also choose the students? In terms of the choice for today, everyone who was invited, who was able to verify their grades. So if you have friends who applied to Newstead and didn't actually get invited today, that's because their GCSE predicted grades were not verified by their school, and therefore, you know, we were limited on numbers. Those who were able to verify were invited. Lanyards. You get them on the first day of school.
Yeah, and if we hope that you do all get your grades, and as Mr Bournat said, if our sixth form increases, then we will increase that, and if we have to make more classes, then we will do that. So if more people get their entry criteria, then we'll increase the size of our sixth form. That's absolutely fine.
Yes, and it's all based on statistical model about number of applicants versus how many places we have. So we're fully confident we're able to accommodate anyone who would like to come to Newstead.
Rashmita, the entry criteria is on our website, and just drop me an email if you've got any questions about the entry criteria, but it is on our website.
Yeah, it's the same for everyone. No discrimination between, I mean, once you're in year 12, there's no such thing as an internal or an external. Once you're in year 12, everyone is a Newstead sixth former, and we sort of try to informally ban the language really of internal external, because it's not good to sort of segregate the sixth form community. So yes, we're talking about it at the moment because there are people with questions who are sort of out, who don't know Newstead, and there are questions from people who do know Newstead. So it's okay to talk about it right now, but it's not something that I particularly like, and you won't hear it after September unless I can't really imagine a time when that would be.
The minute you arrive, you'll be Newstead.
I mean, it's new for everyone, really. I mean, a lot of the sixth form teachers are brand new to current students. Economics, psychology, politics, they're not new. They're all new subjects, and also you're treated differently in sixth form. You're no longer a pupil. You are a student. You're a sixth form student. So there's that element of maturity and sort of a different rapport that you have with staff. So it's a new experience for everyone, regardless of where they've come from.
So we need to have that. If you didn't quite get the grades in a subject, it very much depends on the subject, on how much you missed the grade by. That's a conversation, and that's a conversation to have when you get your results.
Yeah. There's Dylan, can we start enrichments? You will choose your enrichment subject on enrolment day, August the 20th. You choose what, you know, you'll be sent a form, and we'll hope you get back to us quite soon so we can put that together for you for the first day in this summer, in the autumn term. And you'll be starting from the off. So the first week on a Wednesday period 5, you'll be going to football, or you'll be going to Japanology or Model United Nations, MDV, Oxbridge. So there's lots of different things you can choose, and you'll get the choice in the summer when you enrol.
Can I just give you some idea of this year we've got 15 students going to Oxford or Cambridge?
Yes, we do. And it's a good question, top tier universities, but I think Oxbridge is a bit misleading. So, for example, if you wanted to take medicine, it's not Oxford and Cambridge. No one's really, it's Oxford and Cambridge, but they're not, the medical world isn't that bothered. You really want to look at UCL or Imperial. And likewise, if you're looking at anything to do with maths or finance, you really want to talk about Warwick. And if you're into politics, you want to talk about LSE. And if you're looking at some of the other humanities subjects, particularly around natural sciences and geography, you want to look at Durham. So there's top tier universities, quite broad. It really does depend on, but in terms of that, to put it in perspective, I would say 2/3 to 3/4 of students are moving to at least a Russell Group university. So the majority of students are going on to a Russell Group university. We have doubled in the last year. We've doubled the number of Oxbridge offers, and we're back to a position we were maybe 10 years ago. So not only that, we've doubled medical, dentistry and veterinary offers as well. And that's all pre-COVID, so it's not reliant on any of these current situations. So
in terms of best universities for subjects like computer science or architecture, that they're quite specific questions. So heads of department will be able to help you with that. Our new careers advisor will be able to help you with that. And Mr Bournat's door is always open. He'll also be able to help you with that.
So I will, Michaela and Ravula, if you want to email me your specific query, I can get back to you. I mean, just off the top of my head, computer science, you'd be looking at somewhere like Imperial. That would be the top one, but then also the typical ones you would expect, so Cambridge, Oxford. But a good university for computer science and robotics, this is growing. Engineering is growing as an industry and as degree courses across the UK. And so you'll find that most Russell Group universities offer very competitive courses in this. When it comes to architecture, you are looking at places like UCL and Bath.
Yeah.
But again, you've got to do your research, and it will vary year on year as departments change and universities change. So often it's the Times Educational Supplement that you want to have a read of to get your head around some of this.
Again, genetics or genetic engineering, places like Imperial are brilliant for that, and UCL actually.
We do have a careers advisor starting in September, Miss Brown, and she is specifically tasked to the sixth form. She is going to be helping lower school with their work experience and careers, but she is there for us as a body of people to give us this sort of advice. So, I mean, I can talk from my experience, but she'll be able to talk from her qualifications. She'll know courses or universities which are right for you, and she'll be able to talk to you about them. And again, you'll be able to send a query, and she'll get back to you with the right information. So we're quite at an advantage as a sixth form to have a designated careers advisor.
I think we're almost timed out, Mr Bournat.
I think we are. So we've come to the end of the hour. We've had some great questions, and it's nice to see so many from students that I don't know. So that makes me feel, from our guests. So it makes me feel positive that we've had a good response and that people are comfortable sharing the questions they have. Again, if you have any questions that emerge after this, then do get in touch with me or with Miss Roberts or Miss Harvey to let us know what they are. I will now let everyone get on with their weekend. Happy weekend, everyone. The COVID levels have gone down from level 4 to level 3, so I don't know if that means we're going to have more fun weekend, but we shall see what the news says.
Can I echo Mr Lewis's thank you to Tanya? She's amazing as always.
Well, and to Mr Lewis for
Mr Lewis.
Yes, thank you, Tanya, and thank you to Mr Lewis. I mean, he's the one responsible. He's our assistant head teacher. He's responsible for teaching and learning, and he has driven the whole day with the YouTube channel and Microsoft Teams. So thank you to the technological expertise of Mr. Lewis. And I hope everyone has a lovely weekend. It was nice. I will stay on for a few minutes. You are now free to go. So thank you very much. I'll stay on for a few minutes and then I'll close it down. So if you have any more questions you'd like to ask, do just stay on. I'm still here.
And I just want to finish by saying we cannot wait to actually see you in person, face to face and not on a screen.